you're with Amy.
Wisecracking's how we're wired, but warmth and widespread wealth is the way. Whether you're weird, wayward, or witless, you're wealthy.
Letterkenny, stream free on SBS On Demand.
Tonight, growing protests as Israel's Prime Minister seeks support in Washington. While Kamala Harris is set to debate Donald Trump and launches her campaign pitch to voters.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose.
More than 20 lives lost as Super Typhoon Gamy moves to mainland China. And as Paris prepares to open the Olympics, France's train network is hit by a series of arson attacks.
French authorities say it's a coordinated attack designed to interrupt the games.
I'm Anton. This is SBS World News. Good evening. A day after his defiant speech to the US Congress, Benjamin Netanyahu has held separate meetings with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. White House officials say the talks were an opportunity for the US leader to press the Israeli Prime Minister on a Gaza ceasefire deal that would bring the remaining hostages home.
If bilateral relations have been strained over
production, there's not enough airplanes to meet demand. Any company that can come in and say we don't have so many of those issues is going to be more attractive to airline customers.
The world's third largest plane maker, Embraer, is currently experiencing what it calls very positive momentum. It's seeing strong demand for its small, narrow-body jets and has production slots available from 2026, meaning it can deliver on new sales before its rivals.
They are realizing that this aircraft, for instance, is more fuel efficient, has lower maintenance costs, has more range than they thought.
Embraer's success has fueled speculation it may look to manufacture a larger jet to compete directly with Boeing and the world's largest plane maker, Airbus. But even with Boeing weakened, disrupting the duopoly would be challenging.
Charlotte Chelson-Pill reporting there. And producers at Disney's Pixar Studios will be feeling the joy today as the smash hit sequel to Inside Out overtook Frozen 2 to become the highest grossing animation of all time and the 13th biggest movie. The sequel raking in over $1.46 billion at the box office in 6 weeks. It's also the fastest animated film to reach the $1 billion mark, hitting the milestone in just 19 days. That may be a tough pill to swallow for Frozen fans, Anton, but I guess they'll just have to let it go.
They will indeed. Thanks, Rhoda. Coming up, how some migrants are finding the courage to go back into the sea. And a disappointing start to the Matildas Olympic campaign, but not all is lost. In the first 5 months of this year, more than 5,000 migrants lost their lives trying to reach Spain by sea. On the island of Tenerife, young survivors of one of the world's deadliest sea crossings are now learning to swim to help cope with their trauma.
Young men from Senegal and Mali are taking the plunge. For them, the ocean has held the danger of a grim death. They made the perilous journey here, crossing the Atlantic in overcrowded boats.
We were 215 people on board. We left from Senegal. The journey took 6 days. We got to the Canaries at night. We had to spend the night at sea, and only around 5 or 6 in the morning we got to the beach.
Thousands die at sea every year trying to reach Spain. 95% of them while crossing the Atlantic from West and Northwest Africa to the Canary Islands. Spanish volunteer instructors are teaching those who made it to trust the water again, one breaststroke at a time.
There are people who come with terrible fear. You see them entering the water. They hold on to your hand as if clinging to life, like anybody who doesn't know how to swim. You have have to add to that their baggage of experience with a crossing of 10, 12 or 15 days where they might have lost relatives.
Studies show people from high-income countries are considerably more likely to know how to swim, leading to lifelong health benefits, reduced risks of drowning, and more professional opportunities. Mamadou is from Mali, a landlocked country where less than 40% of young people have learned how. Some have lost friends and family in the crossing while fleeing poverty or violence back home.
I wouldn't do it again. It's very difficult, very, very dangerous. It's a risk we took because we didn't have a choice. It's tough in Mali.
Challenging the waves again, thanks to initiatives like this, these men are finally returning to the water, embracing it as a life-giving force.
While bogs are not usually considered beautiful, one little-known region could soon be awarded World Heritage status. The Flow Country, a rolling expanse of UK peatland, covers more than 3,000 square kilometres, and there's a reason it's so valuable.
The landscape of the Flow Country is truly epic, stretching across virtually the whole of the North Highlands. But to really understand it, you need to get in real close. It's only then you see some of the 29 different bog-building moss species. There are carnivorous plants here, including these sundews. And all this plant life supports lots of insect species. Then there are all the rare birds and other animals in this extraordinary place.
The Flow Country represents 5% of all blanket bog resource in the world, but it's also in really good condition compared to other places. So it's a brilliant example of what a blanket bog can look like and the type of species that you can find here.
And that's not the only thing that makes this ecosystem unique. These peat bogs are also an incredible store of carbon, aren't they, Millie?
They are. They're amazing. In the Flow Country alone, we have more than 400 million tonnes of carbon stored here. An incredible amount.
So 400 million tonnes, just to put that in perspective, is very roughly twice the amount of carbon stored in all the trees in the UK. And we can show you why, can't we, Millie? Look at this. Whoa! Look at this. We'll show you why there's so much carbon. Just look how deep this bog is. And this isn't even... Whoa!
Here we go.
6 metres. In some of the remote parts of the bog, the peat is 10 metres deep, isn't it? 10 metres deep. There's restoration work underway to repair damage from conifer plantations. This is a brock, an almost 3,000-year-old dwelling place.
It's a really ancient landscape.
The BID team say World Heritage status would bring huge benefits to the area.
Going to bring a lot more jobs because obviously there'll be more restoration activities going on. There'll also be a real boon in tourism, and finally there'll be more research done, so better understanding on how to manage and how to protect these ecosystems going forward.
Getting World Heritage status would be great news for this place, but also for peatlands worldwide, bringing bogs the international acclaim they deserve.
Justin Rolat with that story. Well, coming up, the weather. And Billy Joel breaks a record in New York. Weather now. A trough is bringing patchy cloud from the Northern Territory through Queensland and northeastern New South Wales, while a cold front in the Bight is driving a cloud band over southern WA, South Australia and Tasmania. In the major centres, cloudy in Brisbane, some showers for Sydney, morning frost ahead of a grey day in Canberra, wet in Melbourne and Hobart, showers easing for Adelaide, partly cloudy in Perth, also in Darwin, possible shower for Cairns and Alice Springs. Looking further afield, an overcast day in Noumea and Port Vila, showers in Nadi, cloudy in Papeete and a fine day in Christchurch. In Southeast Asia, storms across Bangkok, Phnom Penh and Kuala Lumpur. Some cloud activity over Jakarta, showers in Honiara. Further north, drizzle for Beijing and Tokyo, overcast in Shanghai, a wet day in Hong Kong. As we head westward, sunny in Beirut and Baghdad, rain for Islamabad and New Delhi. To to Europe now. A grey day in London and Paris, drizzle for Berlin, storms in Warsaw, sunshine in Rome and Athens. Let's check out Africa now. Partly cloudy in Dakar and Casablanca, fine in Cairo, a wet day though in Nairobi. In South America, there's storms in Panama City, sunny in Lima, some cloud about over Buenos Aires. And for North America, grey skies in Los Angeles, fine in Chicago and New York, and showers for Havana. Well, he's responsible for timeless hits such as Piano Man and Uptown Girl. Now, Billy Joel is moving out of Madison Square Garden following a record-breaking residency. The 75-year-old has been performing one show a month there for the past 10 years. He was joined on stage by rocker Axl Rose for the closing concert, which was also his 150th career performance at the iconic venue, setting a new record. And as we recap our top stories, there's been an update on the campaign for Democratic hopeful Kamala Harris. Former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle Obama have officially endorsed Kamala Harris as the presumptive Democratic nominee for the U.S. election. The Vice President receiving their blessing via a joint phone call. Just hours before the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics, the French train network has been hit by a series of arson attacks, with the transport minister describing the sabotage as coordinated malicious acts. And that's the world this Friday. You can catch up on our bulletins in SBS On Demand, or you can also keep up to date by downloading the SBS News app and by visiting SBS News Online. Claudia Farhart will be here with our next bulletin at 10:25. For now, though, from the news team, good night.